Here we go.
Rita and I will just dance while.
That's it.
Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Rita Giganti and Linda Armstrong. Today is Friday, May the 1st. Happy May the 1st, everybody. 2020, 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we're happy to be doing part 2 of a book that Rita brought to our attention last week called Working with the Law, 11 Truth Principles for Successful Living by Raymond Holliwell. And I have to admit, I'm still a little bit in shock, Rita, that, I hadn't heard of this book before. I'm glad you had, and it's an interesting book.
Listen, I haven't heard of it either. If Spirit didn't bring it in, I would have never probably
Really?
even known about it. Yeah. This is my first time reading it as well. Now, we've all read things about the law of attraction, but this man, and we're going back 38?
39, I think, yeah.
39? I mean, that's huge for someone.
No kidding.
In that time to be coming up with the information that we're bringing today. And it is a bit different than what we've read. Have you read it yet, Walt, or?
I have not read cover to cover, no.
Okay. Linda, did you?
Yeah, I did Law of Attraction and what was the next one? The next 2 chapters, right? And
yeah.
Law of Receiving.
But you've never, you didn't read through it. You didn't read through it yet, right?
I didn't read the whole book yet. No, I'm only up through Receiving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is interesting. Because we, like I said, we've all heard of it, but he presents it in quite a different way. And so it's always good to hear something several times in different ways because everybody learns differently, right? So and I have to tell you, I've read books and breezed right through them when it comes to this. And, getting it and all that. And this, I really have to sit and think, which I like, like I sit and contemplate the things he's saying and the examples he gives. And I'm like, oh, all right. I never saw it that way before,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping, people order it if they can.
For some reason, the Law of Receiving chapter.
Yeah.
God, it's like the first page I read 5 times. I don't know, something about the way he words things. I was like,
yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they tell you in the beginning, no, you're going to be reading this book several times. But now I know why. You're not going to get it the first 6. So.
Yeah. Especially since we already have our ideas from everything else we've read before or heard before or did within our own lives to experience it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm not a proponent of reading the Bible or anything, right? But he brings in certain passages from it that he can connect to what we're talking about. I find that so interesting because, the Bible is up for interpretation to anybody, right? Anybody can read it and interpret it their own way. But he actually makes sense in some of the things that he quotes from there and how he describes it. So it's interesting coming from a Catholic background, although not subscribing to it now, but still it's interesting to have someone, I feel like he was divinely guided, when he was writing this for sure. Cause like I was telling Walt, like 1939, to me, that's like amazing.
It'll be interesting to see also what happens as the book goes on with this theme that you just mentioned about quoting biblical verses. And I say that because there's another fairly important LOA teacher, Neville Goddard, who quotes extensively from the Bible, but he had very specific meanings that he associated with biblical icons and messages and stories and so forth. And so I'm kind of curious to see, is Holliwell going to do something similar? I mean, Neville's, to be perfectly honest, were kind of out there compared to what, traditional churches teach.
Sure.
And, and like way out there, like way, it was like leading edge way out there,
Right.
So I'm kind of curious to see, is Holliwell going to do something similar?
Awesome.
I'm with you too, Rita, on the Bible quotes.
Yeah.
I like when I hear or when I see people speak about Bible quotes, because we know that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
My God.
This stuff is in all that writing. but it's not given to us, like say through Catholicism or what other, at least I didn't get it. I didn't get it. You know,
Not at
if
all.
it was being told to me that way, I certainly didn't get it.
Right.
So it's nice to look at it with like fresh eyes and see how, yeah, this stuff has been talked about forever.
Right.
Curious
Absolutely.
thing too, because Napoleon Hill came out with his book Think and Grow Rich in the early part of the 1930s, and this guy comes out with his book in the late 30s. That era was a very religious time here in the United States. You know, people were very, very deeply religious, probably more so than they had been, you know, any of those, say, 50 years after that.
Right.
Nearly 100 years now. And yet, despite that fact, when Hill wrote his book, he deliberately kept specific religious references out of his book.
Right.
And whenever it came up to anything that might touch on something that was spiritually related, he would say something to the effect, well, if you're really following what I'm saying, you'll know what I'm talking about here. In other words, he wouldn't go directly at it. Whereas, say, a Neville Goddard, who was also talking during that time period, he was doing his speech making around the country, particularly in New York, starting in the 1930s. He wasn't nearly as well known as Napoleon Hill, but he was regularly pulling out the biblical verses.
Yeah.
So
I think it's what makes you comfortable. You know, I think maybe one was afraid that, you know, people wouldn't subscribe to what he was saying because he was referencing that, and others can relate to that if they're connected to it, you know? So.
Well, Hill's publisher is on record as having said he wanted to have the more spiritual references pulled out because he didn't think it would be selling well in the mass media market if they were included, which is really ironic given the time.
Interesting. Right.
It? Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And meanwhile, Goddard was basically rewriting the Bible. So, I mean,
you know, each one of us could rewrite it and we'd all have a different,
probably,
you know, synopsis of it. So, okay. So, the law of attraction, what did you get the most out of this, Linda, when you read that piece?
I think I took so many notes, but what did I get the most out of it is more with, I have to look through my notes to see what really stood out the most.
Okay.
But I would have, and I took lots of notes. I guess the way he talks about, oh, here, I put this one. Is this his quote? I don't remember now. Much like the pull of gravity in the physical realm, expectation is a drawing force of the mind which acts as in the invisible realm. So he's talking a lot about desire and expectation.
Right.
And how they work together.
Right.
Which was kind of cool the way he put that. I think he made it more clear in some way. So he says desire without expectation is idle, wishy-washy, or just dreaming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is also saying somewhere in here too that the expectation isn't you're not putting a how it comes, because that's always what locks us up. But it's just a knowing and a trusting that, I guess, if you really trust in your ability to create and you have this desire and you keep your focus on it, because he does talk about taking action, not just like putting it out there, because that would be wishy-washy again, right? But that how important it is to just expect and know that this will come in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Yeah. So
but not dictating how it comes.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was like right in the beginning of the whole thing, and then he went into three different aspects of it. So he goes to.
I think though it's important for people to understand that desire is kind of the premise of what sets it up. You have to desire something, and if you don't think it's possible right from the get-go, it's like you think, oh my God, how could that happen? That could never happen. Whenever someone desires something, it's already available to you. Okay. That's the bottom line. It's like, you can't desire something without it being somehow available in the universe.
Yeah.
Okay. So initially that desire is so important, like the focus of it, like being really clear about what it is. Like, you know, for instance, I want because everybody has, in some way, shape, or form, at least the people I've dealt with, have an issue with money. Whether they were told money is the root of all evil, whether they were told, you should give more than you receive, because that's the way, because that makes you a good person. They don't realize that, the giving and receiving is like, has to be a flow and a balance, and the expectation, like you said, has nothing to do with how it's coming, but just expecting that it will come.
Right.
In
So
whatever.
he breaks it down with desire, attention, and expectation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to read just this one sentence here. It says the first phase of desire embraces a positive process of attraction. That is, when an individual earnestly desires a thing, he sets up a line of force that connects him with the invisible side of the good desired. Right. So that's just by having that desire, because everything's energy, you actually you're sending out a line of force to that. Like Abraham says, it's already out there, right?
Right. It's there. Has to be.
We're just setting up that line of desire. And so you need to, it says desire without expectation it's just that idle, wishy-washy dreaming. So I like the way he blends the three of the things together.
Right.
Because attention is not like you're not doing anything, but you do want to give attention to your desires. But when you do something from fun, that's why a lot of people say, find the thing you love to do, and then it'll find its way into your life to be a business or whatever it is. Right. Because when you're loving something and you're in that high vibe of creating or doing or whatever,
right,
you can create. Now, I know I've had a lot of times there were things I wanted to create, like a program or something to put out to my community, but I was doing it from a need to do it. Not like the desire was there, but this need to get it done took it over, and the energy changed.
Right.
So that energy became more heavier, more forced, or more like a doing action that wasn't in that joy of the desire.
Right.
Or the expectation of how awesome this thing is that I'm building. It was more. So that's the thing that I find is a fine line with giving attention to something.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful what energy you're putting to that attention.
And you might not even recognize if it's negative.
No, I had someone pointed, Ro Rubinetti Capiello, she pointed out to me one time, she goes, you're creating this from the wrong energy. I'm like, what are you talking
about? That's funny.
That's an interesting point.
She pinpointed what my energy was, which was not a creation energy. It was a destruction energy.
Right. Go ahead, Walt.
I didn't know it.
That's an interesting thing that you just said, because in the quote that you read, it made reference to connecting invisibly to your good desire. And that made me think, are we talking about a good versus bad desire there? Is like a sort of a value judgment on that? And if so, I'm kind of curious, how does he reconcile attracting what you really don't like to yourself just by focusing too much on what you don't like?
I think, what's important here is that for that piece of it, the attraction piece of it, and it's like Linda was saying, the attention piece is you put your attention to it, right? Mm-hmm. You have to portray an interest in something, right? Whatever it is. So you have an interest, that's step one. You're interested in something. You put your attention to it, right? And what draws it to you the most? What is it that you can create in your mind that will draw it to you more and more? It's like
the good refers to how you're feeling about it, right? Is that what you're saying?
So it could be a movie. Mm-hmm. You can say you wanted to get on a show, a television show. That for me it was I'm going to meet Oprah. I'm going to meet Ellen one day. So I would consistently put thoughts out there, kind of like a vision board, but in my mind, on how that was going to happen. So I would think of things that would create such positive feelings in me. The feelings took over, these positive feelings took over, what drove the force of that to happen. Mm-hmm. And it just now, has it happened yet? No, that doesn't mean it's not gonna though. I continually put it out there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when the timing is right, it will happen. And that's what I think people think. If it doesn't happen right away, well, the hell with it. I'm giving up.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
Yeah.
looking for that instantaneous. And if we were that good, we'd be, manifesting at a rate and speed that, and I don't know how good that is either right now. We're not ready for that.
Well, it's pretty
But
high
the good
vibration.
news
Let's
is
put it
we're
that way.
coming to it. It's
The
coming.
good
It's
news
on
is
its
we're coming
way.
to it, but with a higher vibration,
Yeah.
right? If we were perpetually doing this not at that vibration, well, it could be destructive too. So you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting,
So
interesting
he
way to
talks
look at it,
about.
though.
Go ahead.
I was just saying that's an
I took
interesting
a
way to look
note.
at it.
Oh.
We got too many people here. Okay, go ahead, Linda. You go first. I'll go second.
You know what? My volume is low on my iPad, and it's hooked up in this thing, and I can't figure out how to put the volume up. So sorry, I didn't hear you talking there.
That's all right. No problem.
You guys hear me okay though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You're fine.
So
You're fine.
I wrote a note here because he talks about of course belief is key, right? So
Right.
I wrote down much like the pull of gravitation in the physical realm, and that's always there, right? Expectation is a drawing force of the mind which acts in the invisible realm, just like gravity. That expectation is the same kind of an energy. And so he's talking about how you must have both the desire and the expectation.
Right.
So a good way to a perfect example of that is how many people expect the things they don't want and they keep getting it, don't they?
I could give you so many examples right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm watching my sister do it to herself over and over. And then I finally said to her today, did you get the book yet? No. All right. When you get the book, you're going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because, she keeps doing the same words over and over again, the same negative, line that she uses. And I keep saying to her, and that's what you keep drawing to you.
It's
Right.
ironic because we all do that. I mean, we
All
all
do
have our
it.
little blind
Oh,
spot,
yeah.
right?
We all do it.
It's so easy to see it in somebody else. It's so easy to see. Well, you're drawing to yourself exactly what you're saying. But when we
Yeah.
look at ourselves, we often miss it. It's amazing how often we miss it.
I like when someone points it out to me because then it slaps me right in the face and I know I need it.
But also too, the nice thing is with the awareness of that becomes more awareness, you start to catch yourself.
Oh,
So that you don't go on that train to nowhere,
Right.
So he does just say simply, desire connects you desire. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I can't
Take
read
your
my handwriting. Desire connects you with the desired thing and expectation draws it in.
It's like a magnet.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet.
It is universal law, like gravity. It just is. So we just have to work it,
So
be
example
it. We just have to
would
be
be
it.
when you want to draw someone to you that you want to have a relationship with, right? Wherever you're vibrating, whatever level you're vibrating at, you're going to draw in the same, because same attracts like, right? So you're going to draw in the same energy. Not that opposites don't attract, they do. But 9 times out of 10, like attracts like. So you magnetize somebody that you're connected to on that level. It's the same principle.
Right.
We just need to use it for other things.
And that's why when these bad things happen or someone comes along in your space and you're like so put off by whatever that is, you have to have the awareness that it came in. So it's a mirror of something within you. So it's bringing up something for you. No matter what, it just is, or it wouldn't be there. I mean, it's like the huge matrix. We're plugged into it and we have these programs running. So when something pops in and it's undesirable, you got to look at, okay, what within me is creating this undesirable event or whatever.
Why would I draw this to me? What is it teaching me? If you can get to that point and not be angry about it or upset or be a victim of it, then just by recognizing it and trying to work it out, you'll solve it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
made the point that 9 times out of 10, like attracts like, but it is possible for opposites to attract. I found that even in those cases, the opposites usually have something in common. There's a common vibration going on there. So that you could, in one sense, say they really are 2 likes, but we think of them as being opposites, and they really are.
They're mirroring other parts of you. They just are.
Right.
I think that's like law too. You can't get around that, That's
Yeah.
why we have to take responsibility for everything we create, because no one else creates it. It's not my mother's fault. It's not my friend's fault, my husband's fault, my dog's fault.
Oh, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I've heard it all.
I've kind of
And
taken
then the
the stance
action
with
part,
myself.
I
Oops,
didn't write too much down about the action part with what he wrote in the book and all that. But basically, he's just saying, yeah, you take action, but it's inspired action. So you always want to feel that vibration that comes along with the action.
Right.
Forcing it to happen, then it's probably going to take longer. Maybe you'll get there, but it's almost like chipping away at it when you can just dive right in with the inspired action. When that's the whole thing with this virus. I've been finding more and more. I did an energy reading, said the same thing. We're just really being able now to listen more to our own truth and what we know, and opening up that intuition, you know, quieting down all that outside nonsense to actually feel and sense and intuit like what we need, what's best for us.
Right. Right. So just to recap, you know, for people, you have this desire for something, right? You have the expectation at the end, but in between we have interest, right? And things you think of that give you joy, think of it this way. It gives you joy. It gives you pleasure, right? There's a satisfaction to it. These are things that interest you. You have to have that in the mix before even the expectation is always there. That's always there. But in order for it to truly come to you in the form that, you know, you're looking for, you have to have the interest. You have to have the attention.
You know, I want to add in a quick example before you go further, because I might forget. You ever notice how, at least I've noticed this so many times, and I noticed, my husband noticed, my son noticed it. All of a sudden you decide you want to get a certain kind of car or something.
Right.
You never saw them on the road before, but now you want to get that car, or now you purchase that car, and they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yep. You
It's
just put it into,
yeah, go ahead, Rita.
You just put it into the stream of consciousness, and that's why it keeps showing up now.
Yeah,
that's
because the interest was so strong.
Yep.
That it's there.
You gave your attention to it, and then you actually bought the car thinking, oh man, look at this. I got this great car. And everybody and their mother has it on the road.
And you didn't see it before.
You didn't see it, right? Exactly.
Before. But,
this is a great sentence I came across. As we direct our attention to our interest, this magnetizes our power of attraction, which draws to us much of the same type as our thought. That's why it always goes back to be careful what you think, because that's what you're going to attract, right?
Yeah. Page 65. The mind is a magnet. I got time.
That's it.
Notes here.
That's it.
You know what,
I knew there was some stories connected to this. I recall.
I gotta see if I wrote one
I know
down.
Walt likes to hear some of the stories in here. There was
absolutely.
It says a young man came to me one day asking what he could do to increase his income. He was dissatisfied with the meager earning. I learned that he was an electrician. His work occupied several hours a day. He liked his home, enjoyed the garden, his newspapers, and occasionally stepped out socially. I thought he was getting well paid for his efforts and told him so. I added that if he wanted more earnings, he would need to stimulate his interests and be deserving of it. God feeds the birds and supplies an abundance of food, but he does not put the worms into the bird's mouth. The bird must at least go out and search for the food. That's the action that we have to take, right? So it is with all of us. We must do something about it more than just wishing or praying. He decided then that he would increase his capacity as an electrician. So he went to a class at night and laid aside his newspapers and books and other material. He became interested in radio and was enthusiastic about its possibilities. The interest drew him into new circles and landed him a position with a growing radio company. In a very short time, he had found a new pleasure and tripled his earnings. Okay. No one is to be blamed for the dissatisfied life but the man himself, because he failed to expand his interests with his desires. So he put his attention out there, right? He had the interest, put his attention to it, had the expectation, and now he wasn't even doing what he set out to do, which was be an electrician. He became a radio person, making triple what he was making. So that just, it's just a good example of, You have to take the action. You can't just say, well, it's like that. I love that story with the man in the rowboat, right? That God sent, I don't know how many
Oh
people,
yeah,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
yep, it's a good one.
yeah,
And it's not that it's impossible to attract without taking action. I mean, clearly it can be done. People have done it. My colleague Dan Mangana did a whole 5-day challenge on 80% of the people who participated just attracted something out of thin air. But it's really hard to do it on a consistent basis at that really, really high vibration level. It's so much easier to take some action along with it because you kickstart it that way.
yeah,
You're not just waiting for something to come in because, well, I'm checking to see, is my vibration high enough? It's not here yet. I guess not. I got to raise the vibration more. You
right.
go out, take some action that actually raises the vibration for you just by doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you really want to just keep your attention on the higher goals, the higher vibration goals, and off of the stuff that pulls you down
Mm.
or makes you feel like it's out of reach or it can't happen or it'll never happen. Because
Yeah, right.
that's just it's a dwindling spiral. You just can't get out of that.
I
Yeah.
love how
You
he
have to.
describes expectation. He says expectation is attention with intensity. Your
Yeah.
attention to something with intensity is really expectation, he's saying in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. It's just an active form of attention. That's what that
Yeah.
is. So you have to believe in all the possibilities, and you have to know from the get-go that if you are desiring something, it's already there. It's just now, how are you going to manifest it? Like, in other words, it's already available to you. The supply is there, like we talked about last time. It's how are you going to bring it into your life? How are you going to bring it into your energy? And how fast can you do it?
It makes me think of, I used to like to watch that So You Think You Can Dance years ago in the beginning. And there was this one kid who won it, who didn't have any dance training at all. But he would dance in front of the mirror since he was as young as he could remember and imagine himself being famous and doing all this stuff. This guy beat everybody else out. And I'm not sure you had to do every style of dance. This guy was more of a street dancer, but that was his passion. He did every style beautifully and won the damn thing.
Wow.
Because he set that up. He never let go of that desire. He's always given the attention to doing what he loves and being successful at it. Like, I don't remember how he described it, but he was a star.
Well,
yeah,
clearly
that's awesome.
He was attached to just loving doing it, regardless of what the style was. And he developed his own style by loving it so much that when it came to studying somebody else's style, that became second nature. It's like, oh yeah, that's easy enough. I mean, I've done all kinds of stuff like that. I'll just latch onto that for a moment.
Right.
And, oh, there's another one.
I would
I can do the
imagine,
same thing there.
And it probably never crossed his mind that it would be too hard to do it. He
Not
didn't
even
have
close,
the training or the teachers telling him you're doing it wrong or whatever. He just did it.
He had such courage and confidence in himself. And my God, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, I love
beautiful story. I love that.
The best dance teachers, speaking of dance teachers, are the ones who don't say, don't do it that way. Instead,
Right.
if they're going to find a way to suggest that you do it differently, they'll literally phrase it like that. Try it this way. Not that you're doing it wrong, just try it this way.
Right.
And, see if that helps you.
Not bringing in the negative connotation.
Right.
Because the minute you do that, you lose the person.
When they keep it positive, when they keep it reinforcing, you're doing well, you just, try this other thing, you're basically telling the person, you have reason to be confident in your dance style. I'm just giving you some ideas on how to expand it.
Right. Right. How's our audience doing?
They're doing well. Donna actually included a statement that I think she said it's from the book. I don't recognize it. Maybe you guys do, but I like the quote. She says, as you improve and enlarge your ideas and mental pictures, you improve and enlarge your mind. This is a wonderful to instill that learning never ends. It kind of sounds like from the book. I just don't remember it from the book. But
yeah, I'm not sure it is, but the quote is beautiful, and
the quote's good. Yeah,
very apropos to what it's the expansion, and that's the key word there, the expansion.
I wrote down a quote.
Nasha said that she was having trouble logging in because of issues with the net. Nasha, you're not the only one. We've been having all kinds of tech issues before we started the show, so you're not alone. Don't worry.
I quoted something, I think it's on, it's page 76 in my Kindle with the words as big as I put them. Who knows what page it is? You have the actual book, right?
Right.
To desire is to expect, and to expect is to achieve.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. You always will bring it to you if you're desiring it, expecting it, and putting action behind it that's positive.
It's just a
Let's
question
see.
of
So,
what you do.
Rita, was there a story in there? Because I wrote a note here. The example of a doctor that was known to heal people when others failed. Was that part
oh
of the
yes.
book?
So the story behind that was a really cool story. I can hear this. A prominent doctor was asked why it was that he was able at times to reach cases that others have failed to reach. He said, "I never expect a patient to be too far gone not to survive. I fish around my mind for some idea of what to treat. And sometimes those ideas are very simple and strange, but the moment something inside me clicks, I accept it and use it." He said he had never failed to help a patient when he firmly expected his recovery. So I want to liken this to just because Spirit just kind of came through and said it. I want to liken this to Jesus, because Jesus, when he healed someone, already saw it done.
Mm.
There was no, not sure if I could do this. Not sure, there was no questioning. There was, I'm putting my hands on somebody, or not even. I'll just walk by them and they're healed. But what the piece that people don't realize is that the person on the other end needs to have the desire to be healed.
Which was a key component of his stories, because his stories were usually about, Mr. Person who I'm going to heal, who's lame. You believe is strong. Get up, walk.
Right.
Not I'm going to heal you. You're doing it. Do it yourself.
Your belief and their belief that they can do it is what does it. So when they, and I'm not saying Jesus is not a miracle worker. I am. He is. But we're all miracle workers.
Yes.
If we are in that position of that belief and the other person is in that same position, well, they'll get up and walk, talk, whatever it is they need to do at that moment. So I think, it's such a small story, like it's a paragraph, you know what I mean? But it's huge in the sense that this guy that he just never ever thought, oh, I can't help this person. They're too far gone. Then we have doctors that tell people, get your affairs in order. Now, that person goes home, right? That person goes home and they're completely done, devastated. Oh, yeah. They can't get past that piece, right? Mm-hmm. So your words and your intention and your energy behind it can certainly affect another human being. Now, the thing to remember, though, is the person that they're telling needs to say, oh, no, that's not my truth.
Right.
No, I don't need to get my affairs.
You don't have to buy into it.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if they're in the mindset where they buy into it, then that could end everything for them.
Right. Yeah.
So
there was a docuseries that I think it was The Truth About Cancer. I forget the guy's name who did it, but he's done a lot of these different docuseries. And he had stories and so many people talking about how they were told you have like days.
Right.
And that person was like, no, I'm not, I don't, that's not gonna, what it's going to be. And completely healed. And this one guy, anytime they moved him, another bone would break. All his bones were just breaking. And when they're interviewing him, they're seeing him at his son's baseball game, sitting on the bench. He's like, I wouldn't be here now if I listened to them. So he went, I guess, decided it wasn't going to be his truth and did all this natural stuff and healed himself.
Yeah. Do you guys know Dr. Joe? Go ahead, honey. I'm sorry.
Medical science recognizes this. They call it the placebo effect and the nocebo effect.
That's
Placebo
right.
meaning you believe you're going to get better, and so you get better. Nocebo meaning that you believe you're going to get worse or you're going to die, and so you get worse or you die.
Right.
And it's documented. Both effects are very well documented.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been encouraged over the last few years that a number of major universities have created placebo departments to explore it and to study it further. Because for the first 40 or 50 years, they just it was something just to exclude from a double-blind study. It wasn't something to actually study. Now they're studying it, which is cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. If you've ever read anything with what's his name, Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And some of his colleagues, they're all about, I mean, this guy broken back, like I don't even know how in how many places, and regenerated his own back with his mind.
Yeah, you're talking
You
about
know,
Joe himself.
yeah, Dr. Joe himself.
Yeah.
If anybody out there is listening and they don't know who he is or would like to understand a little bit more about him, he really is um, a, a I want to say he's like cutting edge. This guy, you know what I mean, with some of the stuff that he does, and you know, and so I've tried some of it. Not easy, not easy, believe me, by any means, but it can be done. I've seen it. I've experienced some of it myself. Um, Again, it's all what you feel connected to the most, but incredible, incredible stories about that placebo
No doubt
effect.
about it. In fact,
No,
we were fortunate enough, Dan Mangina, who's one of the co-hosts, has been one of the team leaders at the Dr. Joe Dispenza workshops. And he brought in another team leader named Kim Lee Boda, who gave us even more stories about what it was like being at those workshops. And they are
Yeah,
phenomenal. I mean, you're
phenomenal.
there, and these people are coming in with these really dread diseases and horrible chronic conditions, and they're getting up and walking for the first time in their lives, and they're healing, and I mean, it's just, they both describe it as just unbelievable to watch, just
Yeah,
to be a part of it.
it's
They
some
love
cool stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
it
When I
reminds me of
first was, go ahead, honey.
sorry, there's this little book called Zen in the Art of Zen in the Martial Arts, and then I think Zen in the Art of Archery. I don't know which one it was, but this guy in there talks about having his hand crushed. And the way he healed it was he just would imagine he had all these little construction workers in his hand. He would do this all the time. He healed his hands with these little imaginary construction people within his hand.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
It's because it's like thinking from a child's perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a child would think like that.
Listen, why not put little guys in there and fix it? You know, I mean,
whoever it takes.
I did a session with my brother once for a shoulder injury, and I was guiding him to, find his way of putting something in there. Cause like my father, I did it with my father. I brought this to what I do. My father put little surgeons, he had a shoulder thing in his shoulder and it was helping him, right? My brother, he goes, oh, I got it. Okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, what? He goes, oh, I got all these little women in their bikinis, washing it out and fixing it. I'm like, all right, cool. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's some good stuff. It doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter.
But what did he do? He created desire, right? That piqued his interest. The girls in the bikini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Which brought him the end result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is so cool. So reading this law of receiving, I thought was very, very interesting because most of us know how to give, at least us healers and teachers. And, we're very much of givers, but we don't necessarily know how to receive. And we also don't realize that has to be a balance as well, right? You can't be giving too much of yourself. You'll get exhausted, and you need to learn how to receive for yourself so that you could build your energy back up, right? So, he says the mind is like a sponge. We squeeze it hard with our anxious thoughts, but not until we can release the pressure and allow the sponge to take its normal shape can it become absorbent and receptive again, right? This is about the law of receiving. I loved it because I thought to myself, I know those moments where I'm like, my mind is like compressed so much and I can't receive whatever I'm trying to because I haven't released and allowed the sponge to just, like when you're a child, again, you're a big sponge. You're learning things constantly from people, from yourself, from things that you're doing. I think that you also have to feel like you deserve to receive. People don't necessarily feel that either.
And
I'd rather give.
Some of it's just acknowledging, just being able to recognize when the opportunity is there. I mean, how often are we out to dinner with friends and the friend says, "Oh, I'll get the check." "Oh, no, I'll get that." Instead of saying, "Why, thank you very much."
Right.
We're not ready to receive it. We
Right.
like to say we are, but when the other person says, "I'll take the check," "Oh, no, I gotta take the check. I'm gonna pull the check away from you."
And I feel like it's that way because sometimes in the back of your mind is, how does it look if I let that happen?
Oh, sure.
Right. Yeah. You think they're going to judge you for that.
Which is a negative
instead they're
vibration
just, it's a nice gesture. And maybe you've been complaining, Jesus, nobody ever picks up the check. It's always me. And here it comes, you know, and then you're like, I don't know if I should do that. What are they going to think? You know,
But, you
it's
know,
crazy.
people who, my mom's like that. She doesn't let anybody do anything for her, but she loves to do everything for everybody else.
Right.
So the thing is, when you don't allow someone to give to you, when you don't allow yourself to receive it, you're taking their joy away of giving it to you.
Right.
So really, if people can even look at it that way, it's like, oh, you know, they want to do that. Well, who am I to suppress their desire to want to do that? Because then you slam the door in their face, right? It's like, oh, I just wanted to do something nice.
Right.
But, you know,
exactly.
in this chapter, he also talks a lot about giving, but giving from the joy of giving, not giving wanting to get something in return.
No expectation, yeah.
100%.
Well, giving
100%.
only to receive back. It's only for your own kind of a gain rather than wanting to just give from the good of your heart.
Right. And that could be a monetary gain, or it could be somebody looking at you and going, wow, look what they did, you know?
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm giving even to a charity, I feel, you know, they say, you know, put your name and all that. I'm like, I don't feel the need. It's like, they don't need to really know. And that's just me saying, you know, I don't need to put myself out there for people to know anything.
Right.
You know, I'm just doing it because I want to do it, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
not doing it for the recognition,
with this
other purpose in mind.
Exactly. And that's what stops things from coming to you when you do it for those reasons. You then stop the process of anything coming to you because of your motives, you know, what's behind it. And I think I like that the most out of this, I don't know if we call it a chapter. I don't even know the chapters anymore, but
it is a chapter. Yeah. Love receiving.
And he does go into a lot with money here. What does money get out of constantly giving itself into hands that so eagerly grasp it? Nothing. It loses its value if you keep giving money to somebody that just keeps taking and just keeps taking and taking and taking, right? You want to help them, but you know, there's that saying, God helps those who helps themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
If this person says, well, she'll just keep giving it to me, what's the difference? You know, I don't have to go and help myself. Now, what you're giving them is creating a backlash on you as well. So you're not going to be able to receive.
Yeah.
Or to put it another way, there, if you're constantly giving to them and they're just saying, well, I can always get it from this person all the time. So yeah, I'm going to be receiving. I'll just keep receiving. Sure, give it to me. I'll keep receiving. Right. Let's go. And until you stop, they're just going to keep going. They're going to keep going, keep going. It isn't until you stop that now all of a sudden, okay, they have to kind of reevaluate. So where am I going to receive from now? How am I going to do that? What am I going to change my vibration to in order to get to where I want to be? So it actually produces a very positive effect. They get to rethink things. They get to develop a new mental state.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also you taking their power away because you're not allowing them to be the creator to create for themselves.
That's right. I was just going to say that you take their power from them, and then, you know, this is how they think life is, that they can just go around and get from people what they want, you know. And I'm sure we all know somebody like that. Mm-hmm. We've been in contact with somebody like that. And sometimes it's even a family member that you have to, you know, say, okay, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore.
Interesting thing about receiving too is that it's not just money. I mean, I know he makes a big deal about the money. He spends a lot of time on it, probably because that's where most people are thinking about it. But the fact is, there are lots of different ways to receive. And one that just comes to my mind quickly is you got a small group of people, you know, you and some friends or whatever, and you're heading toward a door to go into a building. And one of you reaches for the door handle, opens the door, and the others are expected to go through. Except that there's one person who says, oh, no, you first. That was a case of a person who couldn't receive the gift of having the door held for him.
Right.
You know, it had nothing to do with money. It just had to do with a mindset that says, I can't receive, I have to be the giver.
Right. Especially the men, especially because they feel like they have to hold the door, you know?
Yeah. But that's my job. That's my job.
But because maybe it was drilled in them that they have to do that, that's the proper thing, the right thing to do. It's all just programming once again, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I
And
really
know.
what is
telling you.
money really? Money is, an exchange for services, right? And things that you like and all that. But the problem is there's been so much fear around it for so long, not having enough of it, right? And that's why we keep saying to everyone, no, there's an abundance in the world of everything. It's how are you going to bring it to you? So it's just about thinking differently that creates that to change. It's not like you have to go and, you know, uh, go to the presses and make more money. That's not how it works, right? We just keep putting ourselves, you lose, first of all, you lose the value of money when you do that, right? You keep making money, you're going to lose the value of it. And it just doesn't, it won't work, you know, it won't work. And it won't give you that feeling of, oh, I can co-create with the universe to make more money.
There's
Takes
an
away your
interesting thing
power.
about that. There's a very interesting thing about that, and I won't. I don't want to take us away from the book, so I won't go into it in any depth. I'll just say that I think it's important to recognize that energy and money go together.
Yes,
Money has its own energy, just as we
that's
have
right.
our own energy. I mean, everything has energy. Humans, animals, plants, rocks, trees, everything has energy.
Everything
And
is
money,
energy, plain and
well,
simple.
it is energy. Yeah, you're right.
Everything.
More precisely when you really come down
Yeah.
to it. And so when we understand it that way, then I think what that does for me is it kind of takes away the mystique of money and turns it into, well, this is just one more aspect of energy.
Right,
And now I don't have to feel like it's something that is higher and greater or more difficult or more frustrating than anything else that I deal with. It's just another thing. And
right.
so I take that fear factor away just because it's no longer this high, mighty, mystical thing that controls my life.
Well, and coming from a background like mine with my dad, money was very significant in where, and it was equated to power.
Mm,
So, if you grow, and I had to dismantle that in my
yeah.
own mind because it could have really prevented me from successfully bringing money to me. So. Um, I think people sometimes look at it that way, like all the powerful people in the world, they have so much money, so money equals power,
Sure.
but you really don't know until you walk in somebody else's shoes what that, like, walk in $1 million person's shoes for a minute and see if you would want that life. You don't know. You don't know their circumstances. You don't know how it affects them, that money.
Hmm.
It may seem that way on the outside, but I could tell you based on my own experience with it, it's wasn't that, because I looked at my father and I said, so sad that he thinks that this is what it is,
Hmm.
but in fact, he's really just a child trying to get attention in a sense. You know,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
that's really what it came down to when I looked at it from the higher perspective.
Mm.
He's using the money to give himself what he thinks is power, but his power really comes from the inside of him and he doesn't know it. So
Right.
he's using that in exchange. And eventually that that doesn't work anymore. It will come to an end at some point.
It's a
So
fascinating thing because the experience you had with your father was obviously a very extreme experience, not one that most people have. Yours was very extreme just because of who he was. But by the same token, we look in life toward people who are models, role models, if you will.
right.
And the interesting thing that I'm thinking about right now is we like the role models that model for us well, that show us here's the way to do things. But we often learn more from the role models who show us now how not to do things. Your father showed you brilliantly how not to do anything, or
Oh my God,
how
I
not to
couldn't
do
ask for a
things.
better teacher where that was concerned.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't
Yeah.
ask for a better teacher. I am, I really, when we were in spirit picking each other to say, I got to learn this lesson from you. I picked a doozy, but it was the perfect lesson for me
Yeah.
because now I can share it, you know?
And you got so much value out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So,
it's an
yeah.
interesting thing then. Therefore, no matter what our experience is, no matter what our upbringing was, no matter how poor we were, or how rich we were, or how crazy we were, or how sane we were, or boring, or whatever, our role models are there to teach us something that's really useful for us. That is
Yeah.
probably more useful than anything else.
Again, that's why there are no victims. There are no
Mm.
martyrs. Everybody is here to do a job. Think
Mhm.
of yourself, think of this whole thing as, I know we have actors and actresses, but this is one big play here. We're casting stars and we're acting out things and learning from them in hopefully the highest and good way that we can,
Mm.
and moving forward in a better place. Um, I have an example of a story here.
Sure.
Um, a woman once gave her daughter, when she married, a home fully furnished. She set her son-in-law in a good business. The business from year to year was always needing more funds to carry it over, and she continued giving her money to him until it was almost exhausted. When she had gotten down to a small income and living in one room, she wanted to know why she was not blessed for her generosity. Here's the thing. Here's the expectation of, if I give, I'm going to somehow receive, right?
Mhm.
She gave as she thought best, but it paid in losses and bitter words. The son-in-law demanded more help until she had no more to give. Then she was unwelcome in their home and invited to leave. Her
Mhm.
mistake was in her judgment. She was as much at fault as the dependent son, for she was part of the cause of his failure. I directed her to stay away from the young couple and let them sink or swim by themselves. I was sure they would find themselves. She followed my advice, and within a year, the young man had put himself back in business on a paying basis. For the first time, he was operating at a profit. The home life was restored to a normal state, and they were all happier because their efforts were being directed into the right channels. The young man was proud of his efforts that enabled him to make good on his own merit.
Mhm.
So he says a practical interpretation of the law is, when you see someone making an effort to help himself, that is the time to assist him, but not to give of your substance to one who will not help himself, or at least try. Now, if she would have just kept giving and giving, if she had that money to just keep doing, well, all his, whatever lesson he was trying to learn, done. He wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to learn it. So, best thing that happened was she released him so
And
that he
in,
could see he could do it.
and in releasing him, she released herself,
That's it. Yeah.
which
But
is what
so
really needed to happen. She
everybody
needed
has,
to release her own resistances, and she did.
right. But I think a lot of people are under the impression, if I give, of course I'm going to receive.
Mm.
But it's in the manner that you're giving.
Hmm.
That's what you will get back in return. Right?
I think
Food
it
for
kind of
thought.
ties into the misconception that people have that you can use the law of attraction to control somebody else's life, and you hear that a lot. I see it a
Yeah,
lot on Facebook and social media, and they don't seem to understand that there's a difference between attracting and transmitting.
exactly. Good
You
one. I
know,
like that, Walt.
it's good,
That's
isn't it?
fabulous.
Because you can really only attract for yourself. You can't attract for somebody else. You
No,
can
you can't.
transmit to somebody else. You can send them energy. You can send them love. You can send them physical stuff, but you
That's
can't
right.
attract for them. They are
That's
their
right.
only point of attraction.
That
And
is
then the second
great.
point,
Go
the
ahead.
second
I was
thing
gonna
that goes
say,
along
but
with that is,
you can influence them by
oh,
you
you can
raising
influence
your
them.
vibration and
Oh yeah,
living your truth. That
Mhm.
energy does go out. And if those souls want to grab it, because I know I've seen my mother change completely as I've changed myself.
absolutely, sure.
And I didn't do anything to have that happen.
Well, you
Yeah.
did one very important thing.
You
That's what
changed.
I was going to get to, because the part that goes along with this idea of attraction versus transmission is that if you attract something into your life, that doesn't mean you have to keep it.
That's
And if you
right.
transmit something to somebody else, it doesn't mean they have to keep it.
Right.
We can decide to let go of it and go for something else instead. So that means at any given time, we are all in control of our own choices. We all get to decide what's going to happen. But like you're saying, Linda, if I send something to you or you send something to me, we have the opportunity to decide, am I going to accept that? And if I do, it just became part of my vibration. So now you did influence me and I
Yeah.
influenced you.
Yeah.
I've I've had to learn that lesson the hard way several times. I've allowed certain people through the course of my life to influence me in a way because of my own fear,
Mm.
influence me in a way that would be negative for me. And
Hmm.
I'm learning, you know, just recently, um, more than even before, how not to do that.
Yeah.
Because we all struggle with something. Nobody's perfect. So we're all working you know, every day we're working towards a better self, a better, you know, how we want to better ourselves. So nobody's alone. Whatever somebody's experiencing, Walt, me, Linda, we've all experienced it in some form. We're all here to help each other. So, and that's why I love doing the show.
Oh God, that's why I do it 5 days a week. Are you kidding?
You must be on a high every day.
I know. Well, I look
My
forward
God.
to it. It's kind of like an addiction where,
Yeah,
you know, it's like an addiction without a drug that actually hooks you and makes you worse.
right, right.
It's a drug that
And
makes you better.
to tap into what Walt was saying too about sending, because sending, you cannot go wrong by sending love energy out to anyone.
Right.
Because if they're not willing to receive it, it just bounce off and go to somebody else. It's never wasted.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the beauty of it.
I walk through stores or parking lots, whatever, and I'm just like sending love most of the time. I don't always do it. Sometimes I'm not in present time or something. One time I remember I looked at this woman walking past me and I was sending love to her. And she looked at me and she's like, "Who you looking at, bitch?" I was like,
Oops.
So I was like, no one.
Yeah.
And I just went in, like I could have been put off by it, but I was like, oh, well, I guess she couldn't take it, you know,
Right.
hopefully some of it seeps in. Right.
Right.
But
Right.
she was repulsed by me sending her good vibes.
Yeah,
It
she
was like,
could not
boom.
accept that. Oh, well,
Yeah.
we'll pray for her too.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that really need the prayers, you know?
Yeah.
She was clearly in a resistant mode, and
Yeah.
no, that's the way it was. That was a person who was saying, "No, thank you, I'm not going to keep it."
And the vibrations were so different that even just seeing me in my like open state was like, no, can't have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, that's
But
part of
it's
the,
okay.
the
I sent her
joy.
some more and kept going.
That's all.
That's part of the joy of the fact that we do have free will. We do get to decide at any given point what we're going to accept. And if somebody is sending something really positive our way and we reject it, that's our choice.
Yeah.
We get to choose that if we want to. Of
That's
course,
how
we often
empowered we are.
we'll experience, you know, what goes along with that, but you know,
Right.
that's just part and parcel with it. You know,
Right.
you can't have one without the other. That's what multiple similar vibration is all about.
Well, and speaking to the empowerment that Rita's just saying, I mean, that's how you know, like you can feel what feels right for you and what doesn't. So when you get yourself focused on things that just make you feel bad and make you feel like you can't do this and you can't create that, that is a big neon sign saying, listen, you got to change what you're thinking because you're creating something bad here.
Right.
Yeah.
Very,
Right.
very good point.
Absolutely.
Hey, before we run out of time, I want to make sure I remind people who are not yet subscribed to become subscribers. You do it. If you don't know how to do it, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. We've got instructions at the top of the page just for your particular device. It actually tells from what kind of device you have, what instructions to give you, and it gives you those instructions. And then 1 or 2 clicks later, you are subscribed. It's just that simple. Check us out on YouTube as well. Do a search for LOA Today podcast videos. We'll pop up there. Subscribe and click the little bell so you get notified. And that way you can follow us that way too, just like our live streamers are doing. And just like we do every single day when we do this show. And ladies, once again, we have hit the bullseye with the book. How much more do we have left in the book? I think we've done like, what, 40% of it, something like that?
Yeah, we did 4 out of the 11.
4 out of 11. Okay, so a little under.
So,
right, so
we
got a
we're up
ways
to
to go.
5 and 6. Do you know what it is, Linda? I should have looked that
let's
up
see.
before we.
We have law of increase and
I
law
like
of
it.
compensation. So we've been doing two each time. So that'll work.
Okay.
That's good. Okay. And for
So
all
that's what
those
we'll
who.
do next Friday.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you also to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.